cluster sampling? In cluster sampling, the various segments of the population are treated as clusters and members from each cluster are randomly selected. In stratified sampling, the researcher divides a heterogeneous population into homogeneous subgroups based on their similar characteristics like age, gender, qualification, profession, religion. But in cluster sampling, researcher does not divide the population into subgroups or clusters, but randomly selects from already existing or naturally occurring subgroups or clusters of the population. Or you can say cluster sampling means random selection of sampling units consisting of population elements. Each such sampling unit is a cluster of population element. क्लस्टर सैम्पलिंग में जो नेचुरली अकरिंग सब ग्रुप्स या क्लस्टर्स हैं पॉपुलेशन के, वहाँ से यूनिट्स को सिलेक्ट किया जाता है. जैसे कि हमने स्ट्रेटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग में डिफरेंट स्टेटाज या डिफरेंट सब ग्रुप्स बनाए थे. वह किस बेसिस पे बनाए थे कि पॉपुलेशन की सिमिलर करेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या है, लाइक एज के बेसिस पे मेल फीमेल, एज के बेसिस पे या फिर जेंडर के बेसिस पे मेल एंड फीमेल, क्वालिफिकेशन, डिफरेंट बेसिस हमने लिए थे कि सिमिलर करेक्टरिस्टिक्स के बेसिस पे हमने स्ट्रेटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग में ग्रुप्स बनाए थे, फिर वहां से यूनिट सेलेक्ट की थी. बट क्लस्टर सैम्पलिंग में नेचुरली अकरिंग सब ग्रुप्स होते हैं हमारे, और वहां से एट रैंडम यूनिट्स को सिलेक्ट किया जाता है. So procedure will be in this method. Simply the universe is divided into many groups called as clusters, and out of which few clusters are selected on random basis, and then the clusters are completely enumerated. Key points about non-probability sampling method. Cluster means smallest naturally occurring units in which the population can be described, like villages, blocks, wards, towns, factories, colleges, schools, etc. Clusters are internally heterogeneous, whereas strata are homogeneous. Example of cluster sampling. Suppose a researcher wants to select a random sample of 500 households out of 20,000 estimated households in a city for a survey. Securing a complete list of households would be impossible. Instead, the researcher would take a random sample of few blocks or wards. The number of blocks would be selected depends upon the average number of households per block. So, researcher wants to take a sample of 500 out of 20,000 estimated households. This is the city and these are the 20,000 households, for example, and we want to take a sample of 500. So here for a researcher, taking a complete list of household will be impossible. Researcher एक complete list नहीं ले सकता, तो यहाँ पर क्या किया जाएगा, कुछ ब्लॉक्स और कुछ वार्ड्स में से एक रैंडम सैंपल लिया जाएगा. वो वार्ड्स और ब्लॉक्स जो है वो नेचुरली ऑकरिंग क्लस्टर्स हैं इस सिटी में. So here, the first of all, the city has been divided into, these are the different blocks and subsections which are available. These are naturally occurring sections, section 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then we have taken a sample from these sections. So how to make defining cluster sample? Like a population is a state, element of the population is household, and the cluster will be block. Population is city, an element of the population is individual, the cluster will be household. Population is HP University, element is student, and cluster is affiliated colleges of that university. Population is rural areas, element is household, and cluster will be villages. Population is industrial areas, element is industrial units, and cluster will be industrial estates.